control. He is up 1-0 over Reyburn, who is playing the Rock. He appears to be playing the version of the Rock that we saw played by Jeff Haugland in the Invitational.
Yeah, these black-green decks have been gaining some popularity in recent weeks. They're basically, I mean, they're very similar to Jund decks, but without red, and instead they have a Disciple of Bolas Desecration Demon theme.
Right.
Which is kind of a fun little way to draw a million cards. They have a little bit of similarities to Mono Black Control, actually.
Yeah, so one of the things we saw when we saw Haugland playing in the top 8 of the Invitational with this deck is that they seem to have a lot of trouble with Sphinx's Revelation decks.
Yeah, I mean, they do have access to a little bit of discard, like Duress, but for the most part, they have so many one-for-one answers that if they don't stick a Disciple of Bolas to draw a full hand, they can just be buried under the card advantage.
So in this game we see right now, it looks like Zachary Reyburn, he's down a game. He's stuck on 3 lands. He has his own Planeswalker of Liliana of the Veil going. It's facing off against a Jace Architect of Thought. Right now Zachary is sitting on, he has plenty of weapons. He has Duress, he has Underworld Connections, he has Desecration Demon, he has Demonic Rising, which is something that actually saw some play recently.
Here we see Chris Higashi taking advantage of Azorius Charm's ability to make a mana, like a player who's stunted on mana, fall even further behind. Duress getting to choose between Cyclonic Rift, Terminus, Think Twice, Dissipate, and Azorius Charm. I think the real deciding factor, outside of the fact that Chris just has, Higashi has so many more land, is the fact that his Planeswalker has 6 loyalty, Reyburn's has just 1.
Right.
And I think that if Higashi can ultimate Jace Architect of Thought this far ahead on board, that the game will just be sealed up.
Well, so you'd advocate building the Jace toward an ultimate as opposed to just -2ing it a lot of times.
Yeah, because at this, I mean, normally -2 is the best ability on the card, but in this spot, Higashi already has tons of tools. He has several answers to any any realistic problem Zachary would present. He only needs to buy himself 2 more turns to get up to enough loyalty. So there's a very good chance that he just builds loyalty and goes for the ultimate, because then it's just game over. And Reyburn isn't really at a spot where he realistically has anything that can destroy the Jace, you know?
Yeah, I think
like
without Dreadbore, red for Dreadbore,
yep,
these black
or
green
haste
decks,
creatures or burn.
These black green decks have more trouble with Planeswalkers.
Yeah, now if it were like a Damirati, obviously you have Abrupt Decay, but for the most part, Reyburn really just needs to attack. He could have Pithing Needle, which is it is possible that you just don't want to lose to the Pithing Needle, but as long as you have Cyclonic Rift in your hand, you're not even scared of that, you know?
Yeah, so we see an end-step mill from Chris Higashi. The Liliana had ticked up, but just what you said, Chris untapped, put 1 counter on Jace, passed back.
See, I think you're supposed to flashback Think Twice. I don't think you want to mill there, because you want him to draw that creature again.
Right, you want him to draw the creature. On top of that, it's important even at every point in the game for the Esper deck just to continue to hit lands, right? We saw Chris actually not make a land drop that turn.
Yeah, but I think normally that's going to be true, 9 times out of 10. But this is one of those spots where he would just hold the land to discard to Liliana anyway.
Okay, that's fair.
I think he just needs cards in his hand to discard to Liliana, which is why the flashing with the Think Twice would be nice, because every card in his hand is super good. Each one is effectively a Time Walk, and he just needs 2 more Time Walks to ultimate Jace. 1 more to get him up to enough loyalty, and 1 more so that he can actually activate it. Once he actually activates it, what's the best card in his deck to go get? So he can probably just get another Jace for himself, but out of his opponent, he can go get a giant victory condition.
The Thragtusk, a Scavenging Ooze, a Desecration Demon.
Does he have at least 1? He does not have Aetherling in his sideboard, which would be the usual way to just cement the game if you have exactly 1 of those. But
yeah, and actually what you said there, I really liked what you said about the milling the guy off the top of the deck, milling the Lifebane zombie off the top, because Zachary Reyburn actually did, as a result, draw a land for the turn. After a discard, he's going to try for a Desecration Demon. Chris Higashi actually did have an Evolving Wild, so he did draw a land that turn, and as you were saying, opted not to play it as protection. He discarded it to the Liliana.
So now he's choosing which of his answers to this. Yeah. Like, Terminus would be a fine answer, but it leaves you tapped out on your own turn. But if he gets rid of the Dissipate, then that's the hardest answer. It looks like he's committing to using the Dissipate. He just wants to think twice to see if by any chance he has a better option.
I think he chosen to go with, he has an Azorius, I believe he still has 1 Azorius Charm left.
Oh, well, in that case, he's just got this cemented up. If you've got both Azorius Charm and Dissipate in this position, realistically, that is the hard lock. Now, it's not game over because you're just going to Jace into another Jace and a giant victory
Some
condition.
monster. Yeah.
Right. Or, I mean, it's possible if Zachary has Vraska the Unseen, or Underworld Connections, he might, like there's a variety of different potentially powerful cards he would go get. But
Chris has drawn. He actually drew Far Away. It looks like off that Think Twice. So it's possible he found an answer to Thrag to the demon right there. A tick up from Liliana again. This is going to get a discard from Zachary. It looks like. Well, Zachary now with 4 cards left. He has Thrag, Tusk, Land, Demon, Underworld Connections. Now, and it looks like Terminus and Desecration Demon are discarded. So, Esper Control has kind of been my deck of choice in Standard right now. One of the things which I've actually noticed when I play against these Rock decks or even Jund decks is sometimes when I'm the Esper deck, I actually don't kill a Liliana because I want my opponent to plus it. Sometimes I feel like plussing Liliana really benefits an Esper deck as opposed to the deck that's playing it.
Absolutely. And that's the case with a lot of these control decks, that they can afford to just play into a Liliana for a while, as long as Liliana doesn't get to ultimate. That's the real threat, because if you lose half your land, you're in bad shape.
Right, so it's like I might have a detention sphere, and I'd let him tick it all the way up to 6. Be like, hey, 1-for-1's what I want to do anyway, right?
Absolutely. If they have cards in their hand,
Right. So we'll see. We saw a swing from the Desecration Demon. It was, and a follow-up Thrag Tusk. Yeah, Moorland Haunt made a spirit token there, and that token was sacrificed, which is why we see the 7/7 Desecration Demon.
Yep, absolutely.
And Dissipate will come down for the Thrag Tusk.
And that allows the Far and Away, assuming he has a Far and Away, to deal with the Desecration Demon.
So how greedy, do you ultimate the Jace right away, or do you put it up to 9 before ultimating it, just so you can keep it around?
I'm not sure. It depends on the rest of his hand. It would be nice. I mean, like, he's so far ahead. I think you probably get greedy and just wait a turn, because he dumps it now, figuring he's already got it locked up.
Yep. His hand is Far and Away and Cyclonic Rift, are the remaining 2 cards. So yeah, he's gonna go Jace.
Vraska's looking pretty great.
Yeah,
right
that
now.
is, and you'd mentioned that there was a 1 Vraska the Unseen in Zachary Reyburn's sideboard, and it looks like that's what Higashi is going to go for. He selected that one, and then out of his deck, he has a second Jace he can get. He actually is also playing 2 Sorin, Lord of Innistrad in his deck. He's not playing any Lingering Souls with it, which is kind of, I think, a departure from what you normally see in the Sorin decks. But as far as Planeswalkers go, those would be his options out of his own deck. He also could get Snapcaster, Restoration, or Augur.
My guess, the most likely scenario, just Planeswalkers from each side. Probably Jace, but
yeah,
you might want the Sorin.
He's gone for Vraska.
We got a little suspense. It is the Sorin.
Okay.
So we're on the victory condition type of time. Of course, if you make 3 poisonous snakes, you can give them all +1/+0.
So it looks like the Vraska is going to take care of Liliana, and the Sorin is going to make a blocker. Actually, that Sorin...
the Sorin can just keep the Desecration Demon locked down every turn.
Right. The only way that wouldn't work is if Reyburn has some spot removal, but it seems unlikely, I guess, that the Rock deck would be keeping in spot removal in this matchup.
I mean, he's going to have Abrupt... No, I guess he doesn't even have... I mean, he might for Detention Sphere, but yeah. Most likely, he's not even going to have very much spot removal at all.
Yeah, so we see there Sorin, Lord of Innistrad. Basically, in this situation, I think he's just going to continue to use the +1 ability just to keep Desecration Demon off.
I mean, this game is pretty locked up, but if Zachary's going to mount a comeback, I think that it's got to involve Pithing Needle.
Yeah. So we see a Liliana the Veil from Reyburn. Remember, I think, well, Chris's hand, he hasn't found the Revelation yet. He has a Far Away and a Cyclonic Rift, which are both really good here. The Cyclonic Rift can get overloaded, but I think it's fair to say it's probably not over until Higashi finds that Revelation.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure Higashi needs to draw another card the rest of the game. Like, I think these 2 Planeswalkers alone on this board, like, he's playing a black-green Rock deck. He's at a high life total. He's got multiple answers in his hand already, and he has 2 Planeswalkers that each one can threaten to win the game in a matter of just a couple turns. It's going to be quite a parlay for Reyburn to even be competitive. Yeah, I don't think he needs any more cards. I think I think he can actually just win from the, like, I think his board alone will be enough to...
Yeah. So we saw a pre-combat sacrifice from Liliana to get rid of the vampire token. Reyburn tried to swing with a Desecration Demon, but it did meet the away half of Far and Away, so it was sacrificed. And then we saw a mill 3 at the end.
See, I like mill 3 on myself there if I'm Higashi, just to fuel Moral and Haunt. You have this game so completely won, it's not realistic that you're going to run him out of cards before your Planeswalkers kill him. I'd rather just give myself the most number of resources to work with in the meantime, you know?
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at it. A lot of times, you know, so you can mill yourself, especially when you're playing Moorland Haunt, you're saying, yeah, you can mill yourself into Spirit Tokens, you can mill yourself into Think Twices.
Right, like I would just try to give myself as many options as possible because you've already got enough victory conditions, and your victory conditions in play are much faster than Nephalia Drownyard.
So we see Reyburn plays out his hand. It's a Mutavault and that Underworld Connections, which actually does stick. He's going to plus the Liliana to get Higashi to discard. And looks like there's some staying power from Reyburn here. He actually, you know, he's gotten an uncounterable creature down. He does have Connections land. The Mutavault possibly will be able to mount some pressure here.
I mean, it's definitely, it is a card that Higashi has to block or use any spell on, but I mean, so if Higashi draws 3 land in a row and doesn't have access to any more business for the next 3 turns, Reyburn needs a Pithing Needle for Vraska immediately, and then he needs a Pithing Needle for Sorin, and he has 2 Pithing Needles in his deck, but does he have any other, like, he doesn't really have any other plays that don't just die to the Planeswalkers within the next couple of turns, does he?
I don't believe so. So we saw an end step there, a mill, Higashi sticking to his plan to mill Reyburn. He actually right now has no fuel for his Moorland Haunt. And I think what he's doing is it looks like he's making a Sorin Emblem token, presumably to try to trade that vampire with a possible Mutavault.
So I'm not even sure that that's, I personally, I'd rather just make another, I'd rather just make another vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here he's attacking because he wants to kill the Liliana, but I don't know that Liliana even matters. Of course, maybe he figures the Mutavault doesn't matter either?
Yeah, I mean, so he takes Vraska up to 4. I suppose the Mutavault only does swing for 2 here, so it actually doesn't kill either of Higashi's Planeswalkers.
It does put Sorin way behind, but this is definitely one of those, you know, embarrassment of riches type of situations where I think Higashi has a lot of good lines. It also depends on what's in his hand. If he has an instant speed answer to the Mutavault, then, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
That said, I don't know how much he actually needs an emblem instead of just more vampires and threatening more ultimates.
So we see a pair of draws there, one off the Connections, one off the main draw for Reyburn. Both of them are lands. I think one is a Overgrown Tomb, one I believe is a Golgari Guildgate. So he's going to now activate the Mutavault, and he's going to swing it at the Sorin.
So no instant speed answer, letting Sorin tick down to 1.
Yeah, the one instant we know in Higashi's hand is the Cyclonic Rift, which, amusingly enough, can't hit the Mutavault because it's a non-land permanent.
Right.
Or because it's not a non-land permanent. And then we see a mill for 3 on end step again by Higashi.
Well, I mean, obviously at this point, once you've milled him 3 times, the 4th time is getting even better because at this point, it might be that Higashi's just playing to bide his time using all these Planeswalkers to just keep Zachary busy. Because, you know, in a matter of time, he's going to mill him out.
Right, so we saw there a hit for 2 from Higashi. He made another vampire, used Vraska's -3 to get rid of the Underworld Connections, and passed back the turn. With his hand, apparently he has also drawn a Devour Flesh, so the Mutavault no longer that much of a threat.
Yeah, I mean, if Zachary this turn drew another Mutavault so that he could sack it to the first one, he might have, you know, something amusing to do. But of course, he also needs a removal spell for the 2/1 blocker.
Yeah, he needs to really get that Sorin off the board, doesn't he? That's, well, I guess as step 1, he needs to get rid of the Sorin. And we see Desecration Demon resolves, and he's going to go ahead and pass the turn back to Higashi, and another mill for 3 coming out.
So Mutavault, Desecration Demon, and lands for days versus 2 vampires, an emblem token, Sorin, Vraska, a Drownyard, lots of land, and a hand with a couple business cards like a Devour Flesh and a Cyclonic Rift. A 3rd vampire hits the table.
Yep, 3rd vampire, a plus from Vraska, and just a very quick pass back of the turn.
And it's another land.
This afternoon.
Zachary's pretty close to just dropping his hand and packing it in, but he's going to tough it out.
So this is, I think, one of the situations I was talking about where it seems like the Rock deck has a lot of trouble with Revelation decks, is that the Rock deck, to me, also seems like a deck that in most matchups wants to go late. You know, it's not playing huge numbers of threats, but oftentimes it seems like it doesn't really have the right tools to go late against like a Revelation control deck.
Well, I mean, yeah, it definitely, if you're the mid-range deck, you don't want to go long against the Sphinx's Revelation deck, but we should be careful about jumping to too many conclusions from this game, because I'm pretty sure that if the Esper deck had 3 land when the Rock deck had 6 land and a Planeswalker at 6,
right,
this game would already be over the other way. That said, Sphinx's Revelation obviously just tears these mid-range decks apart if you just stick it, you know?
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason why the format has moved in a direction of things like Fast Aggro, Burning Earth, Rakdos' Return, lots of disruptive, lots of anti-Sphinx's Revelation type of cards.
All right, so a threat finally drawn for Reyburn. It's a Thrag Tusk. Higashi hasn't really been countering any of Reyburn's spells. I think doesn't really have the need to.
Yeah, I mean, he's a lot of control. Like, it looks like Higashi, like a lot of control decks, just not very many counterspells these days. He's got 2 Dissipates in his main deck, and he might have boarded in some number of negates, but he's much more of a board control deck. Not a lot of permission.
All right, 2 more pluses from Higashi. It's another Vampire. It's a plus for the Vraska, and another land, and a pass back.
Yeah, we're definitely at the spot where, I mean, it might already be too late, but if he's gonna make a play here, it seems like the play is draw a Pithing Needle on the first Vraska so that he doesn't destroy your Pithing Needle, and then you have to draw another Pithing Needle, this time for the Drown Yard, and you just have to suck it up that he just has a Sorin, and because at this point
you need a 3rd Pithing Needle at that point.
So he needs a Ratchet Bomb to sweep the table of all the Vampire tokens, and threaten to just have enough attackers to kill the Sorin.
All right, so.
But you're going to die to the Drown Yard very soon now if you don't have 2 Pithing Needles, unless you play. If you can kill the Vraska, then you only need 1 Pithing Needle on the Drown Yard. But
right, and it does look like I don't think he's milled a needle yet, so I think there's still that chance. But as you said, we're talking about multiple top decks.
Yeah, I think our statistician just did the math, and it's 1.86 million to 1 is what it would take.
All right, so for those of you joining us, we are at the end of round 1 here at the Standard Open in Salt Lake City. I'm Matthias Hunt, joined by Patrick Chapin. We're seeing game 2 of Chris Higashi's Esper Control versus Zachary Reyburn playing The Rock. If you're just listening, you've heard on the loudspeaker maybe that time was called in the round. The round clock that you see on your screen is correct for this match. So there's still a little bit of time left, but probably not enough time for Zachary playing for a draw really here.
Yeah, and I mean, he's already down a game, and there isn't going to be time for a 3rd game. But a draw is valuable. Your first draw in a tournament often enough to, but you can still top 8 with a draw if you go X1-1 most of the time. So do you think we're going to see a Cyclonic Rift?
Yeah, well, we see a Devour Flesh, and that actually gets the Mutavault.
Oh yeah, so the Demon was already tapped.
Right, and now the Thrag Tusk is trading off with a pair of Vampires. We might see a Cyclonic Rift now. I think he's really happy to turn the Thrag Tusk into a 3/3 before he rifts. If I'm the Esper player, I mean, I might even think that you just don't Cyclonic Rift because you don't really need to Cyclonic Rift yet.
Just hold it until something, just keep drowning and hold it in case anything goes wrong.
In case something really unexpected happens.
Yep, and besides, the Cyclonic Rift gives him an out to Pithing Needle as long as he holds it,
All right, so Sorin now up to 6. It could ultimate Vraska at 4, so now he has once again the option to destroy a permanent, and he's not going to take it. He's just going to plus the Vraska, pass the turn back.
Zachary, with no access to Encroaching Waste or Ghost Quarter or any other answer really to Drown Yard except the Needle, so yeah, he has to try to figure out a way to sneak in an attack on these Planeswalkers.
It looks like the Beast token, as you see there, the Turtle Beast token, is getting an attack in on Sorin. Chris does have removal in his hand. It looks like he has a Devour Flesh. At the very least, he has Snapcaster Mage, which he's going to go ahead and use. on Devour Flesh. It looks like he actually has answers to both of Reyburn's creatures. Or he's going to use Far and Away. He's going to away the token.
Yeah, figuring he's just going to tap the demon. Or deal with the yeah. So how different is the kind of Esper deck, because you actually have quite a bit of experience with Esper in this current format. How different is the kind of Esper that you like to play?
Well, this is pretty different. So last weekend I played, it's almost straight blue-white. I just played Esper for the Drown Yards. I played one with 8 counter spells in the main deck, so actually it's a fairly different deck. And I think I'm playing a little bit around what you're saying with Burning Earth earlier, where I'm trying to get a lot of basics in the
Any
format.
Evolving Wilds?
No Evolving Wilds right now. But that's not even a bad idea. I just hadn't actually thought of it.
I kind of like it as if you want to play 3 colors, it's a way to try to get a little bit more basic lands. But you have to make sure you're a deck that can even function. If you have 3 basic lands, are you even going to be able to function anyway? And for a lot of these decks, you can, because you can still play your Detention Sphere eventually. You can still play your counter spells.
And that's actually a really interesting evolution in this that I hadn't thought of.
And it's nice that Evolving Wild makes your M10 lands come into play untapped.
Yeah. So we see 5 cards left in Reyburn's deck. That means he has to win this turn. As
show is over, say goodbye.
Yeah. Nothing with haste. Higashi at 28. Can probably just, he could let this happen, but he's not going to. He's gonna bounce it.
I don't even know. It's a little risky even using Cyclonic Rift, because now Zachary drops the 2 Pithing Needles he's been holding.
I mean, at that point, then Higashi just has him on a 6-turn clock, right?
Yeah.
Drawing 1 card at a time. And end step mill 3. Or end step, sorry, make a 1/1 with Moorland Haunt.
Yep.
Then a mill of 3.
Does he have a black mana? Yeah, he does. I was gonna say maybe that's the outage. You hope he just taps all his black mana on.
And with 2 cards left, I think we're going to see a main phase Drown Yard possibly. That should be it. His time has now been called. We are on turn 0 of extra turns in game 2.
A little bit of just going
just
for value, establishing control. Let me go ahead and lock your permanents down.
Oh, he could make assassins to kill instead of milling. And he's passing the turn.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. We're still going. Okay, Duress.
Yeah, he's going for the rub-ins because he figures, he counted the number of turns. If nothing else, I'll just drown him out.
I like how he wants the flawless victory here. Okay, he's now gotten
destroy all
the
Zachary's land.
Right.
Then talk to me about a flawless victory.
All right, so, the extra Sorin was taken with Duress.
Yeah. Ultimate of Planeswalker. Sit and play with 2 other Planeswalkers for 20 turns. Yeah, I guess let's just.
No, and he's not milling there. Okay,
he's gonna wait.
He's going for assassins.
Yeah.
Okay,
and then
this is just ridiculous.
If anything goes wrong, if Zachary sticks a Ratchet Bomb, then he'll just drown him out because he counted there's enough turns so that Zachary still has,
This is all right.
We got a little bit of showboating going on here. I guess this is probably the first time Higashi has ever killed with assassins in his
I've never killed some. Yeah. Devour Flesh, the last card. I've never killed someone with assassins. Have you managed to pull it off?
Oh yeah, but I was actually playing Vrask in my deck.
Okay.
At the time, so it's much different if you're playing Esper versus if you're playing a black-green-white deck. All right. So Chris Higashi takes the match 2 games to 0 against Zachary Reyburn. Esper over the rock.